Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to The Wheel of Sharp Weapons by Tsem Rinpoche. Not sure how to pronounce that. T, I'm assuming is silent, or Tsem Rin, I guess, Post. Those are uncommon, I've never seen those names before, so I don't exactly know how to pronounce it. I'm pronouncing as best as I can. Anyways, I will say I skipped the first 3 minutes and 50 seconds. It sounds amazing. I have no idea what it's saying. I'm sure he's doing some type of either a chant or a type of meditative sound. It is lovely. Anyways, if you want to experience that, please go to the channel. I think you can either be in the description, but sometimes I do mass updates to make a lot of changes, so it might not be there. Or you can just copy and paste the title of my my video, and then you should be able to find it. Let's go ahead and get started. Oh, there's no CC.
There are two things that we need to keep in mind when it comes to receiving the Dharma teaching. One is when we come in the face of the Dharma, we have to come in all humility. The teacher and the students. The reason we come in humility is in a secular world. We have to assert that we are confident. We have to assert that we are right, that we know what we're doing, that we're always on top of things, and we're always perfect. And that gets us jobs. It fills our rice bowl. In the secular world, we always have to project a confident, strong, I know what I'm doing and don't be wrong kind of aura. And when someone tells us we're wrong, or someone tells us this is not right, we kind of say to them, oh, you're judging me.
Spot on, sir. And yeah, it's fine to think and want to be that way. The problem is the arrogance. You cannot, how to say, you want to be right, you want to do your best to be right, and try to be right, but be open to being wrong. Don't be arrogant about you being right. Do not think that you're always right. That's where it's the problem. Arrogance and thinking you're always right. No, be right. Try to be right. Do right. Act right. Be right. Work towards the rightness. I don't know how else to put that, but be willing to accept that you're wrong.
You're putting me down. You're degrading me. You're not respecting who I am. But you see, we shouldn't have that kind of attitude when we come to the Dharma. Because if we are so above judgment, we are so above any sort of improvement, then we are even higher than the Buddha. Then we are better than the Buddha. So when we listen to the Buddha's teachings, when we listen to it as criticism, anger arises, unhappiness, a sense of sadness, a sense of maybe feeling uncomfortable. When we listen to the Buddha's teachings, realizing that we are not Buddhas, I am not a Buddha, you are not a Buddha, and we have plenty of room to become a Buddha, then the Dharma teachings become something that's like nectar.
Sorry, real quick. I was trying to understand what he said. Is it Dharma teachings? I was like, Dharma. Is he saying Dharma, or is it different things? Dharma teachings. Let me rewind that just in case.
Become a Buddha. Then the Dharma teachings become something that's like nectar. Something like when we want to dig gold out from the ground, and instead of just us going there and digging, someone shows us. This is where the gold might be. Don't dig there. This is rocky. This one's a little dangerous. This one might have a lot of stones. Use this tool. Use that tool. Use this machinery. Come at this time of the day. Maybe water at first. Maybe soften the ground. And so when someone shows us how to dig the gold out, when we dig the gold out, it's very easy. Easier. Whereas if we say, well, I know what I'm doing. You can't tell me what I'm doing. I know everything, and you can't explain to me because we're the same. If you have that attitude, you go and dig. Of course, you'll find the gold eventually, but with more difficulties.
I did kind of look up his bio last night, but I kind of forgot. He is talking like, I'm sorry, like an American. But the problem is, it's no longer become just American anymore. Now it seems like it's spreading. But I'm right. Don't talk to me like that. Oh my gosh, I've seen these things, and it's just like, what?
So therefore, when we approach the Dharma, when we approach our teachers, this is how we are taught in the monasteries. We approach our teachers, and the teachers themselves have a sense of humility when they're teaching the Dharma. The students has a sense of humility when they're receiving the Dharma. And the reason for that is both teacher and the ones being taught are listening to something that is beyond secular knowledge. Much more beyond just making money, just the next day, just surviving, just the next investment, just the next relationship is way beyond that. That's one. Second thing is, we have to recognize in ourselves, we do have a lot of anger. We do have a lot of hostility. We do have a lot of regrets and confusion. And we are sad. We are kind of heading to a direction that always not sure. There's a lot of unhappiness in our lives. And when we think of that, it's not a negativity. It is not a statement. It is not a words to judge us. It is something that actually looks at something factually. If you come to someone's house and you say, hey, I don't really like this color, but I think it will suit you and it's nice and I like it for you. That's very nice. Hey, I don't like this color, you got bad taste. That's judgmental. See, both can be you like or don't like, but it's a matter of our attitude. So similarly, when we receive the Dharma, we have to realize, and this is what it says in the Lam Rim, we have these qualities in us that need to be transformed. We have these qualities in us that can be improved. And so therefore, we humbly seek to listen to the Buddha's teachings with the attitude of humility, wanting to learn, and free from the three faulty pots.
Real quick before it continues, when he talks about the room, it's really kind of weird. I don't know, I was trying to put myself in that situation where someone comes into my house and says, I don't like this color, but it works for you. Like, what? It's my house. Yes, it's going to work for me. Hopefully I painted it, or at least picked the color that someone else painted it for me. Like, I don't think there's a reason for someone to come in your house and say, it's ugly, but it works for you. You know, like, what? Wait, are you saying I'm ugly now? I don't know. You know, that's just my thoughts on that one. Let me know if you guys think the same thing. Like, you know, if someone comes into your house and says, the decoration, oh my god, it's horrible. Works for you though. You know, I was like, wait. I don't know. You know, if you go in someone's house, you know, and this is my thought. It's like, if you go in someone else's house, there's no reason for you to say it's ugly. You don't need to say your preference in someone else's things. You know, if they ask for your opinion, it's like, what do you think about this color? And you can say, like, well, you know, I don't like it. It's kind of ugly looking. That's one thing. To go in someone's house and just automatically go, yeah, you know, your decor is crap, the paint's crap, that ceiling fan right there, crap. You know? But for you, it's good. I don't know. Maybe I am so. I don't know what in the world's going to do. Just let me know. I mean, you think it's fair enough? You know. But I get what he's saying. It's very interesting to say that even if someone were to say something negative about something that you enjoy, but they're more saying like, I do not like the color. I guess there's just about a different way of going about things. It's more like, it almost seems like maybe you're projecting your negativity towards the other person. Next thing he pointed out was the anger, sadness. I was going to say negative energy, but it said not negative energy. It's like, oh, It's just an easier way to explain, like, you know, sadness, uncertainty, insecurities, anger, all these things as negative energies, and that that's something that needs to be worked towards. But he said no negative energy, so that's what it says.
One part is it is down. Whatever you put on it, whatever you put into it, it just falls to the side. Nothing goes in. So that is likened to a closed mind. So should you be a fanatic? Just open it up and, you know, whatever comes in, just receive it? Also not. You can have a filter. But the point is not to be closed, open but with a filter. which means, oh, everything that the Dharma teacher tells us, everything that this guru tells us, we have to believe. It is the way. It is no other way. No. Also not that way. Open mind doesn't mean accepting something without checking. Open mind means to be open to a new idea and be receptive to receiving it and checking it out. When you receive a new idea, it doesn't mean you need to accept it on the moment. It means to be open to listen to another idea in order that you can go check it out later. What's the difference? People who are closed, they won't even listen. There's nothing to check out later. So they stay in this little narrow self-imposed box, which creates a lot of anger. So when we're open to something, it is not that you accept it. It is you are open to examine it further to see if it fits you.
Yes! Sorry, I didn't mean to... But yes, this is something I've been saying. It's like, be open to what people have to say. You don't have to accept it as true or something that you incorporate in your life. But it's something that you filter. I never use the word filter, but it's something that you learn and think about. It's like, this works for me actually. Or it's like, I don't think this one really fits into my life. I don't think it's going to work for me. Give it a shot if you want, or don't. But just be open to hearing what people have to say.
So the way we listen to the Dharma teachings, the first way is free from the first of the pots, which is down, which is a closed mind. Second one is a pot that is cracked. Why? Whatever you pour in, it'll come out. That means during Dharma talks to be distracted with meaningless affairs. Our telephones, our appointments, our friends, maybe a relationship, maybe some food, maybe some appointment, maybe we're sleepy, maybe we're tired. We have to think. Receiving a Dharma talk is so rare. Receiving the Dharma is so rare. Out of all the activities that we do, actually, knowledge is the key to happiness. So if we have someone or some method, which is the Dharma, that can give us knowledge, it is the most well-spent time we can ever live for. The more knowledge we have, the more information we have, the more we can apply it and the more we can improve ourselves. Life is about improving ourselves. So therefore, to not be distracted by affairs and not to have our mind somewhere else or feeling sleepy or not able to discipline ourselves is to have a pot that's not cracked, where information goes out. Third of the pots is if we put poison inside. Whatever delicious foods, well cooked and prepared and with a lot of love and care, put inside, it's still not edible. It's poison. Meaning, to come to a Dharma talk with the wrong motivation. Maybe, and this sounds a little funny, but it happens. I've been in Dharma for 30 years. I think I'll go to the center because there's a pretty girl there. And I want to sit next to a pretty girl. And I'm going to look really good. And I've had people here who do that too. And I'm going to sit in a Dharma talk and do Dharma activities to look good, to impress her. To win her over. That's the same as a poison in the pot where you put the precious Dharma in. He's not here for the Dharma. She's not here for the Dharma. It's another motive. Or, well, maybe it's my company and I need to do some charitable work. Let me just show up there and bear the 2-3 hours. And then afterwards, I'll look good. I'll write it on my CV and whatever, and then I can move on. That is wrong motivation. Or some people have afflicting spirits.
Okay, before he gets into that one, I'd say for the one he was talking about here, I mean, I get it. You know, some people, the only thing I can hope for is the people who do these things for the wrong reasons end up in the right place, though. So they end up going, it's like, oh, I have to do this for my freaking job. Let me just do it. You know, they go in there with ill intentions or not the right intentions, but as they're forced to do it, hopefully they go like, this is actually something really good. At least they're exposing themselves to it. Again, much like, I guess, well, not really much like, but kind of like being an open mind, is the fact that he goes in there, at least he's exposed to it, and hopefully maybe something clicks and says, this is actually something I need. You can only hope, you know. Obviously, you can't force anyone into it, but at least if they're... I guess their job is kind of forcing them into it, but you can't force them to continue to, or to listen to what they have to say, or make them do what they need to do. But yeah, hopefully that by seeing this chick, as he says, go into this place and like, I need to go in there to hang out with her. And hey, look, relationship happens everywhere, but you can hope that he's being there and all, and because he's trying to impress this chick that he listens and needs, okay, what do I need to do for this and that? Bad intentions, but hopefully he gets turned to the right way. You can only hope, and exposure, being exposed to it, at least gives them a chance to maybe see that this is very, very beneficial in their life, but because otherwise they probably would have never went there in the first place. Being exposed, going there for the wrong intentions to a degree is better than not going there at all. There's at least a chance of them saying, this is actually what I need in my life, I'm going to start taking this seriously, versus I've never been exposed to that and never will be. Well, there's no chance at all for them to experience it at that point. Even though they're they're going there for the wrong reasons, hopefully it gives them a chance to do it.
Negative energy,
Yep,
sickness, or they have something that they want to accomplish, and they want to use the Dharma in its incredible ways to accomplish those small ends. Sickness, business are small ends compared to if we can get attained, we can become enlightened. If we can become enlightened, all those things become very small because they're wiped away in a second. So when we learn the Dharma, and it's just for small ends, it's like meeting the President of the United States, as I always say. And he says, you can have anything you want in America. Anything. No limits. $20 billion, a whole state, you want to be the next president, whatever. You can take whatever you want. And he says to him, okay, I like to have a toothpick. What? That's it? I like to have a meal at Tony Roma's. I like to, maybe have a free overnight stay at the boardwalk. Well, there's no more boardwalk. But anyways, at the boardwalk, when it was existing. And because my mother used to love to go to the boardwalk when I was a kid. With her friends, they rent buses, they go for bingo at the boardwalk. Anyways, it was a big deal. And they stay overnight, and there's all you can eat, and they love it. The working class ladies. Anyways, to have the right motivation. I do suffer. I suffer in ways that I know, and I suffer in ways I don't know. And I create suffering for others. And I create suffering for people that I love. And I create suffering continuously, and sometimes I don't even know it. And I want to do something about it now. Therefore, I wish to achieve something higher, better than what I've been doing. I want to achieve something much better and higher than what I've been doing. I want to achieve the timeless and deathless state of a fully enlightened Buddha. So I will not listen to the Dharma teachings to gain wealth. I will not listen to Dharma teachings to just heal or accomplish a goal or get a job or eliminate spirits or to even look good. I'm going to listen to the Dharma in order to find a method to transform my mind in a revolutionary way. In a way as taught, exemplified, and shown by the perfect Buddha. And whether people will believe the mystical side of Buddhism or not, that doesn't matter. But the historical side is there. Buddha was a person. He did exist. He was a great sage. He was a great teacher. He was a great master. He's recognized throughout the world as a great master, as a great teacher, as a great sage. That one, everyone of all religions, every country can agree. That's a historical fact. But that's not something mysterious. So therefore, I will listen to the Buddha's teachings in order to transform and change my life. Transform and change my mind. This is the reason. So when we come for teachings, my great teacher, who I lived with in Los Angeles for 8 years, said we must develop that type of mind. When we develop that type of mind, we develop that type of motivation, then our mind opens to listen. So he always says motivation, action, dedication, and it seals whatever we're doing for something better. So therefore, when I spoke with Russell 2 weeks ago, I expressed I would like to share some mind training teachings with you, specifically the Bodhisattva Chaiyavatana. There are a whole bunch of mind training teachings. Mind training teachings specifically means to learn, unlearn, relearn with our mind. Unlearn doesn't mean we're bad. It just means we can find a better method. So what I chose was the specific mind-trained set of teachings.
Real quick, so unlearn, I guess a better phrasing with that, for me at least, would be to unlearn bad habits. Unlearn bad habits, I guess. That's about the only thing you could say. Like, because there's certain things that we do, and it could be like a very bad habit. Like, lifting is a great example. Everyone lifts things, and you do it wrong. Most of the time you lift with your back, because that's the easiest. But it really puts strain on your back, and eventually you'll have back problems. You're supposed to generally go down and lift with your legs. That's a bad habit kind of deal. So putting that along the lines with maybe perhaps meditation, how you sit, how you do certain things around you, to remove those bad habits and to learn good habits.
The mindset traded teachings are very strong in Tibetan Buddhism because our form of Buddhism stresses very much transformation, change. Why? Allison can throw something at me. It bursts, makes me, a cup makes me wet, and I can be very upset. What a horrible, rude, nasty, unpleasant person you are. How dare you make me feel so uncomfortable? Or you can throw it at me, and I change my view. I wonder what's disturbing her. I wonder what makes such a lovely lady do something so rude and embarrass herself and make everything so unpleasant. What's inside of her that's making her so unhappy? So how I look at it is how we turn the situation. If we had mind training teachings and we practice it, we will look at all situations in a second scenario. If we don't have mind training teachings, we might look at certain things in the first scenario, which is anger immediately.
I thought it was going to be like self-centered, because like, oh, that person made me upset. They said something I didn't like, so they shouldn't say it. They threw something at me, made me uncomfortable. They should have never done that. They took my spot. They should have taken that spot from me. You know, it's all self-centered kind of deal. Instead of saying, oh, they took my spot. I guess I didn't get here in time, or something along those lines. And like, they said something. I wonder what would make them want to say something that's kind of offensive. But you know, instead of taking offense to that, just wondering why they did that, being more open-minded and curious as to why they do certain things, and not taking offense to things. That's how I'm taking that what he just said there.
Immediately anger. Why? How dare you? What for? What's going on? Are you crazy? Secondly, what happened to you? Are you okay? You're not so concerned about your being wet or something was thrown at you. You're more concerned, what happened to that person? It's the same situation. Same wetness. Everything the same, but my mind turned it around. And is that possible? It is. Why is it possible? By listening to Dharma teachings, we can understand that and turn our minds around. Because our minds became the way it was over years of training. We weren't born like this. We were born pretty much a slate. So it took years for our mind to train this way. We didn't become like this. We were all 15, 18, 21, idealistic, starry-eyed, everything's perfect, everything's fabulous, everything's wonderful. It's over time we become a little jaded, if we have become jaded. It's over time we develop anger and dissatisfaction, regrets.
Yeah, it's very much a learned behavior. Don't get me wrong, I think it's probably instinctual to some degree. I mean, obviously, no one should be doing stuff towards you unless you want it to be done. So you'll have this sense like, why did they do that to me? But perhaps the learned behavior is the negativity as opposed to, why did they do that to me? It's like, they shouldn't have done that. They're nasty, mean, or whatever it is, you know. Instead of taking, why did they do that to me? To, they shouldn't have done that. That's wrong. They're wrong for that, you know. And we take a negative action as opposed to more of a curious action to that. Yeah, it's like, it's something that you, as we grow up, we look at other people and say, they did that, that's their reaction, that's how I should react.
So therefore, if our mind can train to have that kind of attitude, of course it can train to have another attitude. But some people say to me, Rinpoche, I'm too old. I'm already set in my ways. I'm stuck. So I say to them, that's your projection. You see, according to the Bodhisattva's teachings, Bodhisattva's ideal way of life, as taught by Shantideva in Bodhisattva Chaidavatara on the body mind or bodhicitta, it says very clearly, the mind is timeless. When we die, our body is left behind. It is components given to us by the result of our karma. But our mind continues. Whatever we have learned, not learned, or accumulated with our mind, it continues into our next life. So, that one may be a little bit hard to accept in the beginning. In the beginning, maybe a little bit hard to accept. But for someone who understands Dharma and reincarnation, it helps a lot. Let me tell you why. If your mind becomes old, then when you're born as a baby, you should be very old already. Your mind cannot learn. Because you didn't come from a young body, you came from an old body. Let's say that if you lived a ripe life in your previous life. So if your previous life you died at 80, when you come back your mind should be even slower because now you're 81. And then add another 80 years to that. If you live that long, then you're 160. Then add another 81 and so on. So therefore when you come back as a child, you should be very old. You should think old, cannot adjust, even more rigid, even more narrow. Why? Because you're old. But in the mind training teachings, in Bodhisattva's, in Shantideva's teachings, it says you actually know. Your body becomes old. And true, your faculties can slow down, but your mind doesn't slow down. Your mind and your faculties are related, but not one.
I thought he would say, your memories, your knowledge, that's all part of the body. Your mind is basically a memory bank to a lot of degrees. There are other things there too, but your mind is more of probably your habits maybe? I thought he would explain it that way. Like, obviously sometimes you don't remember your past because all that's kind of left in your mind. All that's part of the body. But yeah, I would have figured he would have said it that way, but no. It says that you may have accumulated memories or knowledge that keeps going on.
I repeat, your mind and your faculties, eyes, ears, speech, smell, taste, and touch, the 5 aggregates. Listening, sound, hearing, smell, eye, sight, taste, and touch are called the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates are related to you, but they're not a part of you. Why? Because mind can exist without body. Mind can function without body. Mind can travel without body. Mind can move things or learn or see without body.
Okay, interesting. So he's separating the brain and the mind as 2 separate things. But the thing is though that I'm wondering if the people understand that, because sometimes brain and mind are interchangeable to a lot of degrees, because the mind and the brain is just the physical, and the mind is the neural activity in the brain. But yeah.
Hence, the body's like a hotel room, just like what you're renting now in KL. If your hotel room's wonderful, you can do more. If there's no electricity, no fax, no email, no internet, no Wi-Fi, you're back to writing postcards. So if your hotel's not good, it doesn't reflect you. It's your hotel. Similarly, if your body is not wonderful, it doesn't reflect your mind. Because your mind and your body are connected and they have a temporary relationship, but they are not one. So therefore, when we tell people, I'm too old to change, I can't change, I'm too set in my ways, wrong view, wrong attitude, wrong thinking. That's why when you go to the monasteries where I come from, 3,000 monks, out of 3,000 monks, easily 800 to 900 are very elderly and senior, 70s, 80s, 90s. You never meet one old monk that says to you, I'm depressed, I'm unhappy, I want to kill myself. Can I have another cigarette? Can I have another shoot up? I need another heroin dose. Can I have some Xanax? Okay, one. I used to take Xanax so I can't sleep, but no, not the other monk. Can I have a Xanax? I'm sad. Can we go out and have a drink? Any whiskey? None. And this is not a show they put on when you visit. I live there. A part of me is Tibetan Lama.
Real quick, I do wonder if they do go out and drink and stuff. Just do not necessarily just to, oh, I need a drink, but just to be part of the crowd, be part of society, kind of deal. Or do you do any other things too?
A part of me is American. The American in me says, prove it to me. It's a horrible attitude at times. Prove it to me. And they proved it to me. I think they're all sorry I believe in everything. I went there saying, well, I believe, but let me check it out. I've never met an old monk that needed drugs, alcohol, women, that needed smoke, that needed anything to be happy.
Don't need no luxury cars, no Gucci bags, no fancy bed with the recline and the air mattress.
I've never met an old senior monk that said to me, oh God, I'm too old to practice. I'm too old to change. I'm too old to think more. Never. Even when His Holiness the Dalai Lama comes to the monastery to give teachings, 80, 85-year-old monks will slowly walk their way to the teaching hall, prostrate and sit reverently and receive teachings and think and say, oh, I can apply that to my life. Why? Because the attitude is, I can take this with me to my next lives. My mind goes with me. So whatever you learn from your mind, it's not for this life, which is what makes practicing Dharma makes a person very happy, because whatever you're doing accumulates into future lives. It's a long-term investment. Whereas in the secular world, when we believe only in money, when we believe only in material things, when we believe in investments, and we only believe in position and name and power, perhaps, and not necessarily believe in those things in a negative way, but just we're taught to believe that, the American dream or whatever, the materialistic dream, that we accumulate, and over time as we accumulate our position, our status, our name, our wealth, our investments, our children, our friends, clothes, collector's items, we become more unhappy. Why? Because we know that whatever we are accumulating will have to be let go of very soon. And it's a dichotomy, because on the one hand, in the past when we were in our 20s and 30s, when we accumulated, we felt kind of happy because it's security. But when we reach our 40s and 50s and 60s, we kind of say, what's the big deal? No, really, what is the big deal if I have it or don't have it? This is not the sum of who I am, and this doesn't make me happy. It actually doesn't give me security. And for people who have been blessed to have their fortunes lost and go down, be cheated and lied to, blessed, they realize how these things don't bring happiness. They realize how these things don't bring happiness. Do you know why? We all need a roof over our heads. We all need security and money. But if we focus only on that, we're not happy. So what am I saying?
Real quick before it answers that one, it's kind of strange. I do see, this might be an old thinkage, and perhaps very wrong. So take that into account. But I do believe people who are generally poor are much happier than people who are generally richer. Rich people don't tend to be happy, only because I think there's so much expectation and so much responsibility. The way you got rich, running a company, you have so much responsibility on your shoulder to keep that company going. Or someone who's famous, where there's so much expectation to do a job or to go to meetings, to take time away from your family or things that actually make you happy. While the poor, they worry about money, depending on how poor, of course. They're just happy to have a roof and their family next to them. Mostly it's family and having purpose in life. And this is the kind of thing, the reason why I think Advaita Vedanta or some kind of Eastern philosophy, again, I haven't studied up on Western ones, is very helpful for anyone really, especially those who are rich, because you're having all that money and it's not making you happy. You're doing drugs or you're drinking, or you're constantly overworked and you don't know how to, I don't know, how to settle your mind or to be content with what you have. I'm sure it's very stressful. People in I'm sure the middle class are relatively happy, because they make enough money to be happy. They're not top corporate earners, so they just do their job, come home to their family, or come home to whatever it is that makes them happy. The middle class seems to be the middle ground. You're making enough money to be able to do things that are very enjoyable, but at the same time you're not making so much money that you have so much responsibilities.
Give up everything, go live in a jungle with me? No. That's not literally go live in a jungle with me. No. In fact, I just came out from the jungle today. No. But a middle way.
Yeah.
A middle way.
Sorry to pause again. But yeah, I always say the middle ground. I don't know if I've said that in my past videos, but it's never about the extremes. It's always somewhere in the middle where the right answer is, or the right way to be is. Generally speaking. Now, could there be some extremes that are very much right? Perhaps. But I think generally speaking, if you find somewhere in the middle, I think you'll be very happy. I think you'll come out ahead.
That we work and support and take care of our commitment. But at the same time, we should take part of our time to work to our higher commitment, ourselves, our mind, our spirituality, our future lives, our death. I guarantee you, if we, you doesn't mean you, if you continue to only accumulate, acquire, you will see you become more depressed, more unhappy, more sad. That is why the top 7 countries in the world, G7, the wealthiest countries in the world, have the biggest cases of depression, suicide, murder, crime, and crime that's not so straightforward, just hit you and take your bag. I mean, they tie you up, they peel your skin off. They lock you up, they torture you, they dismember you, they eat you.
Whoa.
I mean, in these G7 countries, Japan, Germany, all that, the crimes are not straightforward. It's really twisted crimes that are really, you can't even imagine. It's not a matter of just robbing the little old lady. It's robbing her, taking her things, torturing her, and eating her.
That went a bit far. Now, mind you, I've heard crazy things, and it does happen, but I'd like to think it's very rare for that to happen. That is pretty crazy, but he's not wrong about a lot of that things. Something, again, like I said before, about Japan population decreasing, teenagers over there, and teenagers or young adults, teenagers are being isolated. Excuse me, sorry. Are being isolated. I forgot what they're called, and what is it? I think I'm watching another video about like population decline. South Korea's doing it. Japan's doing it. Well, South Korea might not be doing it. I think they're reaching a birth rate of 2, meaning that there are equal births to equal deaths. Japan is actually point something. There's more death than births. United States is about to go to 2, means equal deaths to equal births. So that the population is not increasing nor decreasing. This tends to be developed countries, I believe, and I think this is just I don't know if I would say a natural progression or natural thing to occur once the country becomes developed. It's really strange to think that way, though, But yeah, and then you think about all the different crimes and stuff, and the reason why, like, again, example of the United States is the sheer fact that the United States has it really good, geographically speaking, and in terms of economy. I think it's the #1 economy in the world right now, #1 military, and we're nowhere near hostile countries. We have nothing to worry about for the most part. So what do? We cause problems to ourselves because it's so easy. I've said this before. It's literally, your only issues are what you create for yourself in America, for the most part. There are issues in America that are not necessarily, caused by you, but that is a much more of a minority than the issues you create for yourself. Bad habits, bad mental thinking that you're the victim of something when you're really not, because it seems like there's a race to be the most victim in America. And don't get me wrong, there are some legitimate ones, but it's not those what I'm talking about. It's really weird to start seeing like rich people thinking they're victims of something. Like, you're freaking rich. You make more money than most of the people in the United States, but yet somehow you're a victim. Now, you're a victim to your own self. That's very much fair. But from other people or other races, you're a victim even though you make more money than everyone else. Wrong mentality there. It's really weird. And depression, well, that's very much in the United States. Because, again, we have, there's nothing to worry about. There's no conflict. And that's the reason why we create our own conflict. That we have depression because we have no purpose. If you don't have a conflict, you're going to get depressed. If you have a conflict, you're going to try to create a conflict so you don't become depressed, so you can use that energy towards the conflict or the fake conflict. It's really weird.
Why does that arise? Obviously, wealth doesn't satisfy them. They're bored.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
Materialism doesn't satisfy them. They're bored. Does this happen in countries that are not developed? Yes, it does. Maybe even unreported, but not as much.
Yeah.
Because people are too busy trying to feed their stomachs. They're not interested in dismembering you and torturing you. They don't have time. Because if they don't have time, really. They have to go out there and take care of their fields, or else there's no rice. They had no time to catch you, torture you. They want to catch you, they'll kill you, they just kill you on the spot. They got their satisfaction, they got their thrill.
Yeah, it's very much like, once you got, like I've said before, food, water, and shelter. Once you got those three taken care of, don't get me wrong, you have to still make a certain level of money above to have some certain level of happiness, but those three main things, once those are taken care of, it becomes very easy life. Because if every day you have to struggle to feed yourself, or to clean water to drink, or to have shelter, your priorities are going to be one of those three. Once those three are gone, your priorities are whatever you want it to be.
All right. I mean, both ways is not good. Samsara, samsara. My point, if we only think acquisitions and acquiring things, there's two facets of our mind. The mind that's conscious, the mind that's subconscious. The conscious part of our mind says, yeah. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm told. That's what it shows in the movies. You know, that's what I'm taught in school and society and culture. Yeah. Get more prestige, more name, more money. Yeah. I'll be happy. Well then, no pun intended, but every movie star should be very happy. But they have the highest cases of suicide, drug use, abuse, alcoholism. And with the deepest respect to them, why? Because they've acquired everything and it doesn't bring them what they thought. It's not they're bad people. No, there are bad people who are actors. There are very nice people who are actors. It's not across the board. No. So a lot of them, you don't even know there's something wrong with them, and you find them dead. OD'd. Why? They've gotten everything we're told you should have. Name, fame,
status,
money, prestige, popularity. And there's nothing wrong with those, except no one told them that it doesn't make them happy. So they go, but I'm supposed to be happy now. You ever see people take pictures of stars? You ever see a star like, no, they all got, they're in the back doing drugs, right? They're back killing people, raping people. They're in the back, drinking up, and they're drunk as a skunk, and they come out. I'm real happy. And I want to do another, movie or concert. Is it because they're bad? No. They suffer what everybody else suffers, except they're in the limelight, others are not. They're just highlighted. They're not different than anyone else, and anyone else is not different than them. Big businessmen, same thing. When they go for corporate meetings, they have to be very happy. Do you know how many big businessmen I've met when I close the doors, they cry? Do you know why they cry? Not because they're wimps. Because they have nowhere. They found a place where they're safe to express how they're really feeling. Oh yes. I've met thousands of people, literally. My point? We need to find a middle way. We need to do our jobs. We need to acquire. but we need to also shift our focus away. What's the focus? What's the shift? The shift is
Materialism?
acquire for a different reason. Is what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Acquire and do for a different reason. So someone like you wishes to continue your career, by all means do, but shift the purpose. When the purpose is shifted, you will see some glimmer of happiness. You will see glimmer of happiness. Why? Just like Allison throwing the cup of water at me, our little scenario, of course she won't. We just change our perspective. And that is what the mind training teachings are all about. The mind training teachings are specifically that. They're called in Tibetan lo zhong. Lo is mind, zhong or is to change. Lo zhong is to transform and change our mind. It is not to assume our mind is bad. It is to assume our mind is deluded and ignorant. Deluded and ignorant is not a negative state of mind. It is a factual state of mind. When you say to someone you're ignorant, you're not saying you're stupid. When you're saying to someone you're deluded, you're not saying to them you're bad. You're saying really you don't know. If you've been raised in places where they say, hey, killing is wonderful, and you kill, that's deluded. That's delusion. How can killing people be wonderful? How can creating pain be wonderful? If you've been raised on the streets and you've been taught stealing, robbing people as a way of living is wonderful. That's the way, society owes us. We had a bum rap. Our parents have abandoned us. We're orphans. We've been on the streets. We get beaten up. We've been raped. We've been hurt. We've been used. So it's our right to take back what we deserve. So we just beat people up and we rob people for it. And if we believe that, that's delusion.
Yeah, very much, and they blame the entirety of society as opposed to the individual people who has done it. I guess they project that to the populace. Not all of them, of course.
Because hurting others never brings happiness. Never. It is against any wisdom, both religious and secular. It is against any natural cause and effect in our universe. Cause creating effect. That harming others brings happiness. Against all. Therefore, the mind training teachings are specifically that, to train our minds to change our perspectives. And when we change our perspectives, the whole world changes. Anger becomes less. More patience. More acceptance. Our motivation changes. Our goal changes. A whole new world opens up. A whole new world that's bigger and better and more illuminated. Why is it more illuminated? Because when we have less anger and less selfishness, it's always a better place to live. It's always a better place to be. It's always a better state of mind to be. As I've always said, these days, world hero on the world stage is that lovely lady, Aung San Suu Kyi. Why does everyone respect her so much? She has no money. She's lost her youth. Why do we respect her so much?
Okay, actually, I want to pause the video right here. We'll find out next video why she respect. I don't know who she is. Real quick to touch up on everything that I've said. I'm sitting here acknowledging a lot of the issues that I notice myself as well. I mean, if you pay attention, you can see certain things. It's something that's should be fairly noticeable, fairly common sense to a degree. But we are so distracted as, well, depending on you. Like, I mean, Western people, generally speaking, they're so distracted with making the money, trying to find happiness, that we don't see what's causing good or bad things. We just think this is the way to happiness, this is the right path, this is the only path, every other path is terrible. And we don't realize that this path that we're taking is not good, it's not making us happy, and we need to look for a different path. And much along the lines of seeing how the pain that we cause by following certain path or doing certain actions, or realizing what we do is harming other people. We're just so blind because we're so focused on ourselves. But yeah, and this is this is something that I guess develops once you again once you solve those three issues: food, water, and shelter. And again, I'm merely just acknowledging the issue. What's the solution? Well, this is what I've been trying to figure out. I understand certain things. I understand what could potentially be a solution. It's not a 100%. Oh, this one will fix all problems. No, it's never been about that. It's never that easy. Solutions, generally speaking, are not that easy. But I will say this: Advaita Vedanta or some Eastern philosophy, in terms of trying to peace the mind, trying to be enlightened, it's a kind of a one fix all kind of deal, you know. Once you kind of quiet the mind or realize that, you know, the things, the actions that you do, the emotions that you feel are, if you understand it, I think that will reduce the suffering. This is why I kind of preach understanding. I think when you understand some things, it becomes a lot easier to handle. It's easier to handle something you understand than something that you don't. If you're trying to solve a Rubik's Cube and you understand how to solve it, then it's easier to solve it. But if you don't understand how it works, or you don't understand how to solve it, then it becomes more difficult. I say that word now. I will test the time of that understanding statement that I have. But yeah, so far it has worked. When you understand things, things become easier. When you understand your mind, your emotions, your thoughts, it becomes a lot easier. I'm not saying that's the ultimate solution, but perhaps it is a solution to something, to some people, or maybe to everyone. I don't know. But yes, and solving individual little issues about different problems that people have, that becomes a bit more specific, and that's where you have to really nail down what the solution to that problem is. Generally speaking, again, still going to understanding and Eastern philosophy will help a lot. At least, again, in terms of reducing suffering at the very least. I go with the what is it, the bare minimum. Like, you know, I don't want to promise them, yeah, you'll end suffering completely, no suffering at all. It's like, no, that's promising way too much. And that becomes, and has a chance of failure, because she's like, oh, this will completely end suffering, and they say, well, it reduced it a little bit, but it's not ended it, so clearly this is not working for me, and they'll stop or find something else that may not work at all. So just by saying, yeah, it will reduce suffering, it's like, hey man, you know, reducing suffering is great enough. And then work with the problem, like, you know, trying to fix their car or something like that. You can reduce their mental anguish. It's like, how do I have to fix this? To at least, okay, I'm calm, cool, collected. I know there's a problem. Now let me figure out specifically how to fix my alternator, or change out the tires of my car, because I can't afford to get it changed by a mechanic, you know. Then you go to more of a specific problem. Anyways, that's at least part one for this. The Wheel of Sharp Weapons by Tsem Rinpoche, or Tsem Rinpoche. It's probably Sem. T is probably silent. Anyways, if you like more content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.